Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the Developing Dads podcast. As once again, this is episode number 56. We haven't really prepped much for this one. We're just going to go off the cuff, go a little bit of random dad chat, see where it leads us down the old podcasting chatty rabbit hole of whatever this might be. I'm sat here with quite a full belly because I made some curry, and it's come out of the freezer and we ate it today. But it's one of those kind of thick, greasy, plenty of like cream and whatever else curry. It's fantastic. It's one of the
How would you macro that?
I don't really very well. Like, it's just 4 chicken thighs and then some butter chicken recipe that's online somewhere or whatever else. But we're at the start of that process, Neil. Don't give everything away just yet, right? We can talk about that later. So I got a full belly, but yeah, no, excited to get into the new year. This is our first one of 2023. Every other one up to this that you've listened to, I think the next one that comes out was recorded it before during Christmas, so Neil was on holiday, so we managed to batch them, and we're actually ahead of these podcasts, which for some weird reason, for people who have ever done any content creation or I think anything in life really, is when you've managed to batch stuff and you got it in the tank, there's just less pressure on you. Whereas before we've kind of got into a stage where we're kind of like chasing each other. Oh, when are we going to do a podcast? We've got to do one tonight. It's got to get uploaded, blah, blah, blah. But then again, we're just doing it for fun. So I don't know why we're doing that. But sometimes it's good to have pressure, right, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, it holds us accountable to that date. I mean, nobody really cares if it doesn't get released on Monday, but I don't know, it's something we need to aim for and need to carry on doing.
Yeah, it does. Like, you know, I think there needs to be some level of accountability, right, to get something done. Because that was like one thing I was struggling with today. I resorted back to my kind of like slow or like slightly slower day where, you know, I kind of do some bits and I get distracted by something else and I get distracted by something else and I do some bits doing something else, and I find that if you got a deadline, like sometimes I'll get clients that'll just be like, you know, just do the video whenever, you know, you need to get it done and that'll be fine. That doesn't help me. It doesn't. It's not. I'm not going to prioritize it. I've got plenty of other things in my life that I want to prioritize. So it's very similar to what today was. And I guess like with the podcast, it's like we upload on a Monday morning and that's us what we should stick to. And of course you should be like, yeah, just do it, just enjoy the journey and have fun and whatever else. But 90%, 80% of this podcast that we've made these episodes, right? It's been fun and I've enjoyed it and it's been a very good thing to do. Some 20% we've had to meet that deadline and whatever else and blah, blah, blah. Like nothing in life is going to be perfect, but it's quite nice to be like, we have to do this thing, or we're committed to doing this thing and uploading it this time, you know, because you just wouldn't, would you? Those 20% days would turn into 40% days and 50% of the podcast wouldn't get, like all that kind of stuff. But if you've got a deadline, anyway, I'm rambling. How are you, Neil?
Yeah, I'm good. It's at the end of my week. If you're new to the podcast, I only work 4 days. This week's been slightly different because I was off Monday, back to work Tuesday. I haven't spoke to you since New Year's. So,
spoken, Neil, right? This should be one of your New Year things of like,
here we go,
grammar and whatnot, because you've got this Aberdonian thing where I spoke to you, Ken. Aye.
My written language is a lot better than my spoken. Anyway, I had New Year's. We went up to, so it was a toy between like Skye or Peterhead, and weather in Skye wasn't great. I mean, the weather in Peterhead wasn't great, but we followed the in-laws and they were in Peterhead. So we had a pretty good time. It was just very chilled, took the kids swimming, soft plays, good food, did a really nice dinner on the New Year's Day, nice drinks, stayed up for the bells. And I haven't stayed up for the bells for about 6 years. So that was a winner for me.
For those that aren't Scottish, I don't know if everybody in the UK calls it bells, Neil.
Oh, surely.
No, let's not assume, Neil. Come on now. You don't live. You live in a tiny village in Scotland. You know, not everybody knows what bells are.
I went to, stayed up past midnight, and I went to bed at like 1:30, 2 o'clock. And it was great. Like, just I really got on with the in-laws, and we had some really nice whiskey when the clock struck 12. And TV was actually pretty good. So Lewis Capaldi was on for the BBC Scotland and a Ceilidh band called Manran. So yeah, it was a good night. Then New Year's Day, I went for a swim in the Peterhead Sea, which I was probably the youngest by about 30 years. The rest of them were old age pensioners that enjoy swimming in the sea.
That's some weird shit to be doing when you're retired, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I mean, it's weird at the best of times.
It's weird at the best of times, but if you're a former Navy SEAL or you're on some holistic middle-aged man-chasing journey of trying to find yourself, then fair enough. Go and get yourself in the sea. But if you're a 65, 70-year-old who thinks that swimming in Peterhead, North Sea is something you do on New Year's Day, you've lost your nut. You should be on a cruise somewhere with Saga. You know what I mean? Going on nudist beaches, bollock naked because you don't care, right? In Ibiza or something like that. Not Peterhead. God.
Yeah. So it was good. It was coldest water I've kind of been in, and the wind chill was nuts. So I got a good thrill from it. And yeah,
I bet nobody saw your pecker. I bet that was disappeared right up inside you.
Yeah, completely. And it's always that awkward moment. You've got to get out of your swimming shorts, so you've got to wrap the towel around and yeah. But
mate, tell me the 7-year-olds are doing that. They're just getting out and getting their pants off, aren't they? They're bollock naked.
Oh, listen to this. So when we got into,
Neil, right? I'm listening.
Submerged right into the water, this older lady shouted, "Right, everyone get their swimming costumes off."
Goodness me.
Yeah, I know. I kept mine on. But yeah.
What why? Is this the next stage of crazy? Was it?
Well, they wanted just a skinny dip, but they didn't feel that confident. So they did the half skinny dip.
Hold on. You hanging out with a bunch of swingers? And this was a little party, and you just accidentally stumbled across this swinging party that do nudist beach tours and Peterhead.
Peterhead. For those of you that don't know, Peterhead is North Scotland, a fishing village. Probably the main economy is drugs or fish, and yeah, it's just full of a bit. It's an interesting place. Nice though. But interesting.
And the local economy is also held up by pensioners that go swimming in the sea. You don't need swimming costumes.
It was this local group that Rebecca's mum is aware of and goes to sometimes.
So this is your mother-in-law is familiar with this practice of nudist swimming in Peterhead.
The nudist thing was a special for New Year's Day.
Oh, was it? Oh, it was a special. Oh, good. Because that makes it different.
But yeah, it was a weird thing. But anyway, I enjoyed it, and I got home safe and sound. Ben came with us. Ben came with me, William and Julia. The rest of them stayed at home. And
Ben didn't get in the sea, did he?
He didn't, but he'd
have died if he got in the sea.
I think he enjoyed watching me. Anyway,
not the naked pensioners.
No. What else happened?
I'm trying to actually. I think I'd like to probably go deeper into what Peterhead is actually like, because it's a small fishing village. There's a lot of rich people up in Peterhead, because the fishing when they're actually fishing the sea, a lot of people up there made a lot of money, and there's obviously oil in the northeast of Scotland, so it's a wealthy area, but it's very closed, right? It's not something that foreigners go to, or anyone that's basically outside of Peterhead would venture to.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's no tourists or anything, and you're right about the money thing. The kind of cars that are going around are just mad. And one of my friends who was from Peterhead now lives down in Edinburgh, he was like, "Are you enjoying the culture of drugs and fish?" Because there's a bit of a drug problem up there as well.
Yeah, because it's I think Scandinavian countries have problems with this, where particularly drinking, I think, is one of the problems, because they don't get much sunlight. I think there's this sad thing that happens, and people just drink basically themselves to death because it's just a bad time of year when it's winter. I mean, Peterhead, just as a place, I think would drive people that direction a little bit.
But there's also an interesting thing. I walked into this shop, and from the outside, it just looks like, I don't know, it sells charity shop things or the lower brand stuff. And you walk in, and there's jackets, Timberland jackets, and jackets that Make's never heard of. They're £900, and designer stuff all over the walls. Must have been about, I don't know, at least 500 grand worth of stock in this shop. And there's just some old random Peterhead guy running it. It's just bizarre. And also another bizarre thing is they've got a weird sense of fashion, or I find it a bit strange. So they like kind of extravagant
because you're a good commentator on fashion.
They're just like bright, vibrant colors, but like kids wear like massive pom poms. But like I know there's big pom poms, but these are like massive, or like two massive pom poms.
The heck's a pom pom?
Like hats, and like you get the pom pom on top.
Oh right, okay, yeah, like exuberant ones.
Yeah, and like there was this family I saw, 3 kids, the mum and the dad. They were all in white jackets, white trousers. I'm not sure about the shoes, and then white hats. And it just looked like they were just all matching white. And it's just it's a weird.
What are you doing?
And there's a baby shop that baby and toddlers and like kids, and everything in it is just white. Designer clothes like Diesel and whatever, but all white.
Rogue. And this, like, I can't stress, this place is tiny. Like, it's a small fishing village in the very northeast right-hand corner of Scotland, and it's as bleak as it gets on the best of days.
It's even got its own Starbucks chain. That's not Starbucks. It's called Symposium, and they've got 6 coffee shops in Peterhead.
Wow!
And it's like, you walk in and it's like Starbucks.
Wow! So maybe they're selling the drugs out of these 6.
Like the branded cups and everything. Symposium.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah. Well, okay. So that was your new year. What else have you been doing, Neil, since then?
Staying off alcohol. So I thought I'd do a live test. I've got an alcohol-free Hazy Jane Brewdog, if you're on the webcam and on YouTube. And I kind of, I got into a habit of drinking like 3 or 4 times a week. And in the new year, I've limited that to 2 times a week alcoholic drinks. So I'm trying out. Yeah, I'm trying out some.
So for those that are listening on the podcast, Neil is currently pouring his glass of beer, not peeing into a toilet.
So this is a Brewdog Hazy Jane alcohol-free New England IPA.
The tension is just unbelievable, Neil.
It's only you listening. It's not bad. It's not bad.
The thing is, like the alcohol-free beers, right? I got into it. Don't get me wrong. You know, Olivia was coming, and I think we're 1 month out from, you know, popping, giving birth, whatever it was. And I didn't want to, you know, have had a few cans of beer when Laura goes into pregnant. I was like, I've got to be clear-minded. I want to be like with Laura, really supporting her, just ready to drive, ready to do anything that's required to get the job done. So I got very much involved in the sort of alcohol-free game, right? And I don't know, it's a bit like fat-free food or that kind of zero-calorie stuff, right? Now, you can convince yourself that it's good. You can be like, oh, this is nice. This is lovely. But when you get yourself a real beer after drinking a month's worth of free stuff, you're like, I was just drinking piss water.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. There is this, so you know how beer is meant to, or alcohol in general is meant to give you this relaxed feeling. Well, up on my Instagram feed, sponsored ad, I got this Impossible beer, it's called. And it's basically this scientist guy that's trying to make alcohol-free beer with nootropics in it.
Oh, yeah. I think I've heard of something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's meant, like, I've never tried it, but it's meant to give you that, like, kind of zen feeling of drinking alcohol without the alcohol in it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Interesting.
So you went naked swimming with a bunch of pensioners at New Year. You're now a reformed alcoholic. What else you been doing?
And yeah, just back to work. Work slow, as it always is in my kind of area of business. And like I think January is just generally a slow month. So yeah, just getting back into things. Booked some travel down in London, as you know. I'm down twice, but once I'm seeing you, which is good. So yeah, easy. Anyway, how was your New Year's? How was your week back at work?
So New Year was kind of subdued but nice. You know, it was kind of very much a family affair. We went up to Laura's again. It's just I think if anyone's considering it, they're thinking about becoming a dad, or they're thinking about, you know, should we live next to the in-laws or whatever else. The first caveat is you got to like them. I think that's quite important. You got to get along with them. The second thing is it's the best hack I've ever had in my entire life. Like, I can't stress to you how good it is, because on lots of like positive things that Olivia has such a close relationship with Nana and Gramps like David and Denise, she absolutely adores them and they adore her, and I think you can really see the connection that they have now, where they've got like special little things that they do together, and Olivia kind of recognizes that, and it's just great, right? And she gets very regular contact. Like, I'd be surprised if she doesn't see them at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 times a week, even if it's short bursts or all day, which is incredible. Even to the point of, like, yesterday we had a very spontaneous kind of like little dinner at ours, and you just sit around, you're chatting, and all that kind of thing is just amazing. Also the fact that we can go up there at New Year. We're not necessarily going to go out partying. We've got a kid. We're married. Like, what's the point? So we go up, and Laura's grandparents, Olivia's great grandparents are there. So we all she went to bed, and then we all stayed up, played Articulate. There was no naked swimming, Neil. There is a pond, but there was no naked swimming. We played a bit of Articulate. Had some nice dinner, watched Jules Holland for the fireworks, that kind of thing. And that was kind of like our evening, to be honest. It wasn't anything fancy. But then equally, we got to wake up, right? We got to get the next morning. We stayed at David and Lisa's, and we hung out and had some lunch, and then that was kind of that, really. And we just walked home. Yeah. Like, I did expect it to be a good thing, but I was kind of thinking in this kind of very pragmatic, childcare is going to be great, it'll be free, and, we can get a break from the kid, and the kid can come back, and all that kind of stuff, but it's more just like, it's the relationship stuff that I think is just incredible. The whole kind of society, like the thing that really drives most of us as human beings. And I think it's just great. It's absolutely fantastic, from everything. Even like Denise came down the other day to borrow the Hoover because we've got a really nice Dyson. She can just walk down.
Yeah, I think I think we're both lucky in the fact that we've got in-laws that we really get on with. Like, I know quite a few of my friends are married and got kids and stuff, and like their in-laws are not very hands-on, but B, they just don't get on very well. So I think we're both lucky and both have a different view because our in-laws are awesome, and I could spend the weekend with William.
Here's the thing, and this was quite important to me. And not that I had a checklist, but I kind of had this would be a good thing as like when you're assessing a partner, right? In the so clinical way that I'm describing it. But you're kind of like, you're hoping that they have the same kind of values as you. You're hoping they have the similar kind of interests. They maybe complement or even are opposite to you in certain things, because I think that works quite well. Like, Laura's very empathetic. I'm not particularly. So it works very well. It helps me meet at least some sort of middle ground. But to me also was like her parents were quite important to me. If Laura's dad was like a raving racist, would I be okay with that? I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. And I think like love is obviously just the two of me and Laura. That's really important. But I want my children to have a very strong relationship with their grandparents. That's a genuine, like a strong goal of mine, even before I met Laura, because our grandparents, all of them lived in Edinburgh, and we saw them infrequently, and I guess I just didn't want that for my kids. I want them to have a very close relationship, because I think grandparents bring another dimension of experience and a different era of learning and understanding and development. And I think they then bestow that onto their children or their grandchildren. So for me, it was like, I don't know if you'll either agree or disagree with it, but it might have been a little bit of a deal breaker if they'd been quite extreme. If they'd been down a certain road where I'm like, that just doesn't form part of my like moral and ethical and value sort of proposition.
Yeah, I don't know if I overly thought about it. Like when I first, like in the first year or two of knowing, and maybe not two, but the year of meeting Rebecca and going out with her. I'm just so lucky. Like, I remember the first year I went out with Rebecca, I got invited to one of their yearly family gatherings, which there was 50 of us in this big, massive house somewhere in Scotland. Can't remember where the first one was. And I felt this was mad. Like, I felt this was actually one of the best things ever. They're all family. They're all getting on together. Like, it's just a massive party for 3 days, and we go home at the end of it. And we, as you say, we never had that. So this is all new to me. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm getting treated like family. So yeah, I think I was just luck. I didn't necessarily calculate it to be anything else.
Yeah.
I'm just fortunate.
Yeah, I think I was quite conscious of it, and I was kind of like, thankfully, David isn't a raging racist. In fact, he's very much the opposite. He's he's a lovely father to Laura and Jack, and he's an amazing grandfather to Olivia, and the same with Denise. She's incredible in terms of the way that she manages manages basically the house and the family, and brings she's like the glue of everything, right? She cooks and cleans and makes sure everyone's okay and whatever else, and it's fantastic. It's great. So I think New Year was another testament to that decision to want to move closer to them. And I don't think I'm going to look back with anything but fond memories and a good investment, I think, is what I'm getting at.
Nice.
So that was New Year, and then the first week back, I was kind of itching. Actually, I was itching to get back into it. I like working.
Yeah.
I like working. I like doing stuff. I like building things. I like the game of what it is. So I was building spreadsheets and stuff to track habits and incomes, expenses, and operating profits and lead generation stuff. And I think my main target this year was I'd had some inquiries. I've never been that proactive when it comes to inquiries. I've just kind of let them come in, and then if they pay for it, they pay for it. But I think I could probably be a little bit more proactive with it, in the sense that if I am proactive, does that mean I can then charge more? Where I talk to them more, or email them more, or discuss things more, or just present more value, that kind of thing. So had a few calls, had a few setups, had some bits and pieces. I kind of sat on like an idea for a little while where I don't know if it's a self-confidence thing, which is kind of weird for me, or a imposter syndrome sort of thing. But, I ran my own business, and I have done, for 12 years or whatever else. And I've obviously learned a bunch of stuff that comes with that. And, I find myself consulting quite a lot with either friends or younger colleagues on certain things, like some creative professionals or new freelancers or personal trainers or any kind of part of that. And I was like, why don't I charge for this? Like, why am I doing this for free? Like, why do I have chats with people about how they can grow their social media stuff? How can they create better content? Like, why have they not set up a pension? Because these were mistakes that I made and I didn't do. When they're negotiating with a client, when it comes to pricing, like, how are they structuring their pricing and why are they doing that? Why is it important to have terms and conditions? Like, what are payment things you can use? How can you edit things faster and do stuff faster and more efficiently? Yada, yada, yada. So I was like, screw it, I'm just going to set this up. So I've set it up. I've had 4 people sign up to it already, and got a little kind of system thing that we can follow. It's either going to be like a one-up fee for like an 8-week fast track thing, or it'll be a monthly stuff, and then we can just touch base on some of the coaching points that we've got within that sort of system. And yeah, so kind of working with that. I think that would be a nice little, because I told you, like, I wanted to do some extra revenue income stream sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that coaching thing will be nice, and I get a lot of energy from it. I do enjoy it, and that's been set up. So yeah, just offering advice to a bunch of creators.
Nice. When are you back on the road to filming? Because you haven't done anything.
Tomorrow. So I got my first sesh tomorrow. Day filming with a chap called John Boland. We're going to do this. This was the interesting thing, because he came to me, he wanted to do YouTube videos, and I told him no. Like, no, don't do that. Please don't do that, John. And he was like, all right, what do you mean? So we went into this like conversation where I think what a lot of people want to do is either copy what other people are doing. They see someone doing a YouTube video, they're like, oh, I'll do one of them. That's cool. Like that, I'll do that, and I'll find someone who can help me do that, which works. Don't get me wrong. Like, well, it doesn't work, but it's fine. Okay, but I'd rather. I think when you do that, when you're experimenting with something or copying someone, or like Austin Kleon's book, Steal Like an Artist, read it if anyone's interested in it. You should do it budget, buy yourself a camera, film like Casey Neistat, make some videos, see what happens, right? Don't spend 5, 6, 7, 800, 900 quid on a videographer to do that for you.
Yeah.
Because it's probably not going to work, and you kind of need to go through the process of discovering that yourself sometimes. So I said to him, look, John, Instagram Reels, right? You don't have a massive audience, but that can go viral and it can go very well. And it's much shorter, easier form content for us to be able to put together. So he was like, yeah, great. And the way I kind of explained it to him was based on two different types. The content forms of two different buckets. One is breadth content. So that is searchable content on YouTube where you're like, how do I make a chicken sandwich? How do I barbell back squat? That's breadth content that is searchable. People will find it. They'll constantly find it. It's going to be there. It'll help you grow your YouTube channel, your Instagram, or a YouTube channel, generally speaking. Then you've got depth content. And the depth content stuff like Instagram stories, vlogs, day in the lives, catch-ups, Q&As, that kind of thing. That doesn't really grow a channel. It just doesn't work. So you're better off sticking to the explainer stuff and make it the one that comes up with the highest amount of potential quantity. And inevitably, a 10-minute YouTube video, although yes, it can work and it will work very well, is a much higher investment, time and money, than say 12 reels, like 3 a week. Much less. And you can film them high quality, we can make them look really good, and you can absolutely smash it. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. Filming the gym, doing some bits and pieces at the house, and then, which will be fun. And that's pretty much my week. That's pretty much what I've been doing, Neil. Just doing stuff like that.
Sweet. So how? Let's start with the random dad chat. How's the diet and the fitness and the?
Feels pretty random dad chat already. We've already talked about naked swimmers, drugs, all white wearing Peterhead people, and depth and breadth content on social media. Yeah.
How's the gym? How's the diet?
Diet's been fine. Like the curry thing's been annoying. Because like it's super tasty, right? But like it's one of those things where you literally don't want to waste it, because the time and effort that Laura put into making it is pretty high. The fact that some of it went on, the big green egg, like all that kind of crap, like you could say lots of excuses. But yeah, the portions weren't very controlled, so I'm quite full. It's 2 days of eating that, but it's done now. Prior to that, tracking macros, like doing it fine. Felt a bit hungry, weight's dropping. I've got a bit of a target. I'm trying to get 5 kilos down in January. So I'm going to go a little bit more hardcore on it. Gym's really good. Like the T2 Fit thing that I'm doing, that Laura sort of got me that free trial for. It's great. Like it really is great, because you just turn up, right? That's all I've got to do. I've got my phone goes in the locker. Bloke, girl in front of me tells me what to do. Follow a program, do the stuff. I do stuff that I probably wouldn't want to do. I've got to do front squats tomorrow. I don't like front squats, Neil. They're disgusting. Horrible thing. But it's part of the program. I just do it. Who cares? Yeah.
Is it a big group you're in with?
Yeah, so there's 6 per trainer. But sometimes there might be just like there's 3 of us today with one trainer. So it's 6 potential. They also do classes. So they've got a 35-minute class and a 55-minute class. So you can do them as well if you want to as part of like a membership. So I get 12 of those small groups training sessions over the course of like a month. And it's really great. The only kind of funny thing is, and it's happened to me 3 times now, is that I'm a little bit stronger than most people.
Still.
Yeah. Like I've taken 6 to 9 months off the gym and I'm still rocking up like, which is it's not like, it's a nice little ego caress, but let's be honest, like it's not that, like it's also not even close to where I normally would be. Like I was pushing the sled, they'd stacked it all up, and then the girl that was coaching us was like standing on it, and I just pushed it both lengths, and it was hard, but it wasn't that hard, and everyone's giving me like a round of applause, and I'm like, come on, like which is very nice, but no. And then I was training with a lady yesterday. I think she was probably 50s, maybe 60s. Because they pair you up, right? So you got 3 racks, and then you pair up with them. And she's very fit. Like she's definitely very, very fit, very, very fit. And we're doing like rack pulls or block pulls. So you have like slightly raised deadlift, basically. And I hadn't deadlifted in months, so I was like, I'll just do 150, 160 kilos. And it's for 6 reps, 3 sets. Like, it's all right for me. Like it's hard, but not that hard. And she just couldn't believe it. She was absolutely mind blown.
What was your PB? 220, 210?
247.5.
Wow.
So she was just like, she's blown out her mind. She was going like those other trainers that were there. She was going up to them going, do you see what he's lifting? He's like the strongest man in the gym. He's stronger than you.
Oh, your head.
But it's nice. But then it's like some of it, it's, I was squatting with a chap, and you know, if I'm doing quite heavy weight, it can be quite dangerous if they try to like spot you.
Yeah, especially if they're not ready.
You know? And I don't want to be rude and be like, don't touch the don't touch the ball. So it's things like that. And then it's also kind of like I get it. It's nice when people say nice things, but it's not so motivating. Like I'm not going there to compete, but equally it's not quite as, you know, it's not as motivating if you're literally having to take 110 kilos off the bar for then someone else to, every time. And then there was a chap today I was training with. He was he's in hedge fund management or something, I think. But he warmed up with 30 kilos on a flat barbell bench press, and I was like, oh, just stick like 15s on each side, and I'll just do 60 for a few reps. And he just went, all right, okay, sure. And I just like, you know, nice and easy banged it, and he was like, oh, like, what do you do? And I was coy, and I didn't tell him anything about the personal training. I was like, oh no, I just, you know, I've gone to the gym for quite a while. And he was like, oh, all right, okay.
Sit on stage naked, fake tan.
Yeah, not naked, no, Neil. I had my swimming trunks on. and yeah, it's good. But yeah, I am really enjoying it. I think the only thing with T2 Fit is it's a couple £100, if not a bit more, a month if you want sort of your 3 sessions, which is a lot of money for a gym membership, but not for like a PT thing. I think it's well priced. I think it's very, very good. I think anyone who can potentially afford something like that should absolutely do it because it's fantastic. But I think with the increase in our mortgage coming up in like May and all this kind of cost of living stuff, I'm just not sure both of us could necessarily afford to be going to T2 Fit to go and train.
Do they not do like a gym only?
No, so it's not like that kind of gym. So you can do tiered memberships. So I think you can go down to like 100, 150 quid a month. But that doesn't include any of the sort of small group training sessions. It's just the classes. And although that would be nice, I don't think I want to spend like 20 quid just to go and get absolutely smashed at throwing some medicine balls at each other sort of thing. I could probably spend 5 to 7 quid at a gym like just down the road that's got lots of bodybuilding equipment, and I can design the program and whatever else. So yeah, if Luke, who owns it, listens to this podcast, you know, we could do an exchange of services if you want some help with your YouTube building.
Third time you've mentioned that.
Yeah, so we'll see. I doubt he listens to the podcast, but we shall see. Have you decided not injure yourself because you're not now you're a reformed alcoholic? Are you actually gonna have you run 20 miles or anything yet?
So injury's back, which is just frustrating. My knees, like I did 3 weeks of 4 weeks of running, gentle running, and the knee's still not good. So I've contacted my private medical today actually to progress with that MRI scan. But I am tracking, so I've went from like 85 kilos down to 85.6 down to 84.2. So just over a kilo I've lost, which is not bad. Doing 10,000 steps a day, 2,000 calories. I'm feeling pretty easy. Like I don't find tracking that mundane. I mean, I did it for a period of time up into the wedding, like 12 months or 8 months or something. So yeah, but
it's really not that hard, is it, Neil?
It's not.
No,
it's not.
I know. It's kind of like, you know, I know it's sometimes, but then I guess, you know, for part of you is you've done it already, which is very helpful. First of all. And the first time anyone does anything, it's always a bit painful and a bit difficult and a bit kind of like, got to learn this new thing. Like I'm trying to get Jimbo and Paul, the two guys that I work with in the PT project, to use Slack as a messenger rather than WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is just so inefficient. But they just always use WhatsApp because they're both crickety old men who just won't bloody use Slack. So they've so it's things like that. So I get it. But at the same time, like, what do you want? You know, do we want to have an efficient business where we can talk to each other and not forget dates? We can link, have notes and link sort of URL stuff out and sheets and blah, blah, blah. Or do you want some WhatsApp group thing that kids use to organize first 1-year-old birthday parties? Like, no, you use something that's a professional setup, you know where to use it, and you just have to do it. So it's the same with tracking, I guess, isn't it, really? It's not that hard.
Yeah, just gotta get on with it. I think it'll be, the weekend's always a bit of a challenge, but yeah, I can still go on my bike. I've still got weights at home that I've been doing weight stuff. So yeah.
But even then, it's just calorie controlled, right? That's how someone loses weight. It's not necessarily by exercising. It's about just not eating. as much.
Oh, there's this. So I listened to the Diary of a CEO, Steve Bartlett's podcast, and there's this doctor on it.
Mr. Spectre.
Jesus. Is it Mr. Spectre? I can't remember his
Calories don't matter.
Yeah. Did you listen to it?
No, I know who he is. I know he's notorious for just absolute nonsense.
One thing he did say, and I don't know, I want to look at it a bit more. He's written a book about twins and how they differ, how identical twins differ in terms of their biology makeup. And he talks a lot about the microbiome in the stomach and how that's the only difference that he can find in identical twins if they're gene identical. And that's how identical twins generally get different diseases, they have different life expectancies, they go through different health problems, is because their microbiome is different. So I found that was quite interesting.
I don't think it's just the microbiome. Like if, for example, someone drinks different amounts of alcohol, or identical twins aren't always going to make the same life choices, right? One might smoke, one might not smoke, one might take drugs, one might not take drugs, one might drive too fast, too slow, one might be more stressed, have a different type of work.
True.
Like,
interesting.
I don't think it's the only. I don't think a microbiome is the only thing that makes a difference. Because if for example one identical twin decided they liked cocaine, they're going to have chemical differences in their brain.
Yeah,
especially if you take too much of it. So I don't know. I don't know. He just says things that are just. It's slightly annoying. It's like you can call yourself.
I was going to say, I felt it hilarious. So he's all about, I listened to the whole podcast, and he's all about you need to eat like a caveman, try and eat like 30 varieties of fruit and vegetables a week, and different plant-based things. And then half an hour into the podcast, and he's like, don't eat anything refined, don't eat any sugary things, blah, blah, blah. And then the Huel advert pops up. I'm like, that's the most refined thing you could get.
I mean, he's literally made in a lab, right?
Yeah. He was like, don't eat anything that's processed, don't eat anything that's man-made.
Don't make anything that's man-made.
No, I don't think he said that, sorry. Nothing processed, nothing that's been...
But then I guess part of me gets annoyed with the idea of don't eat anything processed. Because what do you mean when you say processed food? I'm sure we can do the obvious thing Cadbury's or Kit Kats or Dairy Milks or donuts or that kind of thing,
chicken
right?
nuggets, that kind of thing.
Chicken nuggets, all processed, right? But if a banana is a genetically modified, it's literally been bred in a certain way to have smaller seeds, to be a certain size, to grow in a certain way, we did that. Human beings, bananas aren't bananas. Bananas 150,000 years ago were not bananas like we know them now.
Yeah,
pineapples, not like we know them now. Rice, not like we know it now. All this kind of stuff is processed. It's been processed over 1,000 years with agriculture.
Yeah.
So, at what point do you say don't eat processed food? That's nonsensical. That doesn't make sense. It's yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, I know you could rant on this all day, but I just found it hilarious that Huel were still advertising on Steve Bartlett's podcast. And there's this guy that's saying, don't drink or eat any processed foods.
See me trolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my next thing I was going to chat about was Isla's growing up, and she's had a kind of a pivotal stage of self-awareness, which is scary. So that happened, I'd say maybe in the last 4 weeks. She's now started asking quite regularly, maybe a couple of times a day, how's my hair? Is my hair okay? Is it too wild? Is it? And it's just that she's never done that before, and it's that moment of, well, she's almost 8 years old now. How is she getting that kind of what's triggered that? I don't know if you've got any views.
I don't know the ins and outs of psychological development of children, but I imagine there's certain stages, and some things come later on in life. And I imagine some of them are, especially with school, I think probably parts of the socialization thing that starts to happen when you go to school is you realize there are have-nots and have-somes, whatever the thing is. There are people that are richer, there are people that are poorer, there are people that are faster, there are people that are slower, there are people that are more pretty, there are people that are less pretty, there are people with certain characteristics, all these kind of things. And I think the more you go to school, the more you start to realize the differences that you have as an individual.
Yeah.
Economically, emotionally, physically. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's starting to mature into that state where she recognizes that she's a different person. And her hair in particular is a key feature to who she is. So it wouldn't surprise me if her friends mention it, or lots of people in the street mention it, because it's quite a defining feature of who she is. So I guess there's that part of identity that she's starting to form, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe it's quite a good analysis. Just for those that obviously don't know my daughter, she's got bright ginger curly hair, which looks like the character from Brave, the Meredith character, just identical to that. And there's comments every couple of days where she gets in the street or in the shops. Oh, I love your hair.
So when you approach that, when she says, what do you think? What did she say? What the things she asked you about?
So every morning, actually, she'll wake up and be like, is my hair okay? Does it need sorted? Because she has her bath at night times, or sometimes she has massive bed hair, and either Rebecca or I will help her sort it. But it's only been in the last kind of couple of weeks that she's started mentioning it every day. Okay. Before that, it would be us that kind of, not necessarily pressures her, but says like, oh, we need to go and sort your hair now. It's a bit wild. But she's looking in the mirror and she's like looking around and just seeing it from the back and stuff like that. And yeah. And then we just sort it for her. Like, we make it look more controlled.
Of course. So do you involve her in the process of it so she can sort it herself?
Not yet. Maybe Mummy can help with that.
Because I guess some of it is kind of, allowing her to be self-aware and to take care of herself. Because we're all like that. Like I wear these headphones literally because my hair looks ridiculous because I've just come back from the gym.
Yeah,
I do. I could probably shave a little bit, whatever else. But generally speaking, we're going to want to look a little bit better, right? We're going to want to present ourselves a little bit nicer. And I don't see there being any issue with that whatsoever. It's just whether or not it literally like drives you to think and do certain things that are probably quite negative. Where you're wearing very thick makeup because you're trying to hide things from people.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that.
So I guess like involving her in the process and asking her, why would you like your hair to look this way? And and using quite kind of neutral language where it's not, why do you want your hair to look nice? That's just like, rather than saying it looks bad right now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So if you're like, oh, why do you like doing your hair like this? She'll be like, oh, I think it looks nicer. Okay, great. Does it make you feel better? Yeah. Yeah, it does. Okay, good.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, but it's just,
and then it's just reassuring her and saying, look, if you ever feel sad about it, or if anyone upsets you about it, or you feel you want to talk about it, then let's talk about it and let's chat about it, because
yeah. It's just that realization that she's growing up and she's getting older.
Oh, mate, the hole's going to get way deeper, mate. If this is the only thing you're worried about right now, then you've got some shit coming.
I know. Just 8 in February. Madness.
I know. That was you had a kid when you were, what, 23? Bonk. That's madness. Not the fact that you've got an 8-year-old. So that like stuff like that is definitely a challenge, and I'll face it eventually as well, I'm sure. And I'm sure there'll be comments on certain things and have to deal with them all, and people aren't very nice, and having to help them navigate that. It's not easy, I guess.
Yeah, that age-old kind of bullying thing. And she actually started asking, can I walk home from school myself? I'm like, oh my God.
You said yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fine.
But it's just that, like, she wants independence now. I think she's turning a corner.
Good on her. Encourage it.
Yeah,
it's good for her. I'm looking forward to the day that Isla can come down to London on her own.
On an airplane or the train or something.
Yeah, anything she wants. And I'll show her around. I'll show her a great time. We'll go for afternoon tea. We'll go out in London. She can hang out with Olivia, do lots of stuff on her terms, when she wants to and how she wants to do it. 8 years old, probably not yet. But, maybe when she's 15, 16.
Yeah, you do get those airplane services where, I don't know, you can get not an au pair, but they live in with you, but somebody that takes someone from British Airways will take them on the plane, sit them down, get them comfy, make sure they get off the other end, and get to the person. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that if you want. I'm up for it.
Another, you go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Neil. I appreciate it. The sort of the today in particular was one that I was kind of struggling with a little bit. Was this kind of, I have lots of ideas, but I'm quite bad sometimes at actioning them. Like I've got a bunch of like Instagram ideas to film, and I'm still kind of like procrastinating on them a little bit. I haven't put them in a diary yet, which probably answers my own question, to be honest. I have some YouTube videos I want to film, and I'm just kind of procrastinating that a little bit, and just kind of holding back. Have you ever found any special technique to get shit done?
Yeah, it's a good question. I time box things. So there's an app I use on my Mac actually, which is like a timer, and it does like 20 minutes. Is it called the Pandora time thing? You've got 20 minutes to do one task. Pomodoro. You got 20 minutes to do one task, and after you've done 20 minutes, you might not have finished it, but you get a 5-minute break. And I find that just the art of setting out what I want to do, and that 20-minute timer, right, I'm going to do this for 20 minutes. And generally I feel like I'll miss the 5-minute break and just carry on doing it because I'm in the flow or the zone or whatever you call it. But yeah, if there's something that I've been putting off, I generally try and time box it and say, I'll do 20 minutes. And that sometimes works.
It's fair enough. It's basically what I think. I also need to like schedule it in my diary, so it's like an appointment, just like I have my appointment with my PT session thing that I do. Because today was kind of one of those days where I probably could have got a lot more done, which I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, the whole procrastination thing I battle with on a daily basis. I'm just doom scrolling social media when I could be reading a book or doing actual work, or like especially when work's quiet, like. It's hard to kind of have focus on the tiniest little tasks because they're not adding that much value. They're just kind of work to kind of tide us over until things get a bit busier. And then I just end up like doom scrolling on social media or LinkedIn, and it's just a waste of time. And I could be like today actually, I thought like I could be learning a programming language, or I could be learning a new skill, or I don't know. But
there you go. We've got to pull our fingers out, Neil, and just get it done. Because it is like the key is that it's down to us, right? It's not down to anybody else or doing anything else. It's like, but then I don't know. Maybe you're doom scrolling because you're just bored of what you're doing. But then that's not an excuse either. Like, just get the thing done.
Yeah, it's these things. Like I'm holding up my phone on camera if you watch on YouTube. But yeah, it's the phones that sit right by you. And I've actually started sleeping with my phone downstairs and not taking it into the bedroom. And
I think I agree. I think I agree with you, but at the same time, like I didn't have a phone when I was at school, and I still found other things to do than revise.
True.
I did. So did you. Like everybody did. People find other ways to distract themselves from the things that they didn't want to do.
Roll up paper, turn it off, people.
Sure, don't get me wrong. Like your phone has an endless amount of things you can possibly do with it, which inherently probably makes it a better addictive procrastination tool than anything else that we've ever experienced in human existence. But I can almost guarantee you that I would have found something much better to do in the days pre-social media or mobile phones. I would have then revise for an exam or to read a book or do anything else, right? I just would have. I would have absolutely found something else.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think the fact that the phone is with us 24/7.
Yeah, sure.
Is the main issue.
And we've got tons of screens now, right? We've got TVs. I've got one sat here next to me. I've got one in front of me here. I've got one on the camera up there. I've got one on my phone. Like you're at the click of a button of billions of distractions. Unbelievable amount.
Yeah.
But I just don't buy the idea that the mobile phone is necessarily our biggest problem that we've ever had. Because every single person, anyone in the age of 30 has experienced life without a mobile phone, and they've also not necessarily achieved the things they set out to do on a day-to-day or weekly or monthly or yearly basis, because it's even, it's kind of related to it, I guess, but the whole posture thing, when people talk about like they're sat at a chair and they're kind of hunched over, right? And it's bad posture and it's bad for you, you get injuries and you'll die some horrible death, right?
High risk of cancer,
everyone
diabetes.
Everyone uses like laptop screens and laptops and mobile phones and all that kind of stuff is like their evidence that, everyone's in a bad position and it's not good for them. Like if you go back to the 1920s or 1930s and you look at a a train carriage.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right? They're all sat there with newspapers. Right? Is someone in that on that train suddenly been like, it's my posture that's caused my bad back? Like, it's my posture that's why I'm dead. It's because of my posture. I was reading a newspaper. That was terrible.
Yeah.
No one's complaining about all these books people are reading. They're just like, oh, they're sat at TV screens all day, so it's terrible. Their posture's terrible. Yeah, and it's like a new disease. Like, get out.
Yeah.
So, I guess
I go through cycles of like, every 6 months, I'm like, do I go to a dumb phone for a few days a week and that kind of thing? But I'm like, the phone makes me more productive. I can leave my desk and go and pick up Isla or go and pick up the kids and still have work with me because I need to answer emails, I need to answer chats and stuff. So like, if I got rid of that, I wouldn't have that luxury of freedom of being able to get Isla.
And some people might turn around to you and say that's just an excuse, Neil. But it's not.
Yeah.
Because it's like, for me as well, like if I have my phone on me and if I get an inquiry, statistically, if I'm able to reply to that inquiry within an hour, I'm more likely to sign that client.
Yeah, no, yeah, I fully agree with that.
Now, it doesn't happen very often. And don't get me wrong, I'm probably doom scrolling way more than I am answering potential client emails. But the access is important to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that's kind of part of it. And I guess the last one is quite a nice little finish to this this pod is Laura's job hunt's going well so far. Lots of recruiter stuff going on, lots of calls, lots of chats, lots of kind of updating and some cool sort of positions coming up and all that kind of thing. So, although last year, certainly the second half of it was, pretty sad, not necessarily very nice. And, to have two parents being made redundant from a role, not the nicest possible thing you could go through, right? But now we're kind of coming at the other end where, Laura went through an interview and she didn't get the job, didn't get the role, but now she's like, really proactive, positive about it, like going for it, talking to lots of recruiters, and that feels really good. So hopefully something comes up that she wants to do and is excited about. And I'm looking forward to supporting on that journey and helping her find something. Nice.
Yeah, that whole like job hunting thing, it can be really demoralizing. And just like, you speak to lots of people, you get excited, you meet them for coffee, and then you don't hear back with them for days and weeks, and then it's a roller coaster of emotions. But
yeah, it definitely is. It's like dating, right? You're just going to get rejected or you get accepted, and then you kind of get accepted, but then you kind of don't, and you have like 11 interviews for one job and blah, blah, blah. So, a nice little positive thing, I guess, to the start of the year is it seems to be going well.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Shall we should close it off there? I think that's our good hour worth of random dad chats where Neil went through his alcohol problem, his naked swimming in Peterhead, and drug dealing in kids, toddlers, designer outlet areas. And I just went through the idea that this Tim Spector guy he's a doctor, but he doesn't talk any sense.
Yeah. Don't count calories. Eat what you want, as long as it's fresh.
I mean,
he actually said, quote, this made me laugh, you can eat as many vegetables and fruit as you want and you won't get fat.
But again, like, this is a doctor.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you can't say that.
Yeah.
It's very words. It's a black and white statement you just made that's wrong. Because if you eat enough, you'll gain weight. If you don't move.
Yeah.
Like equally, he's not using examples of case studies where people have eaten. Like, there's a doctor and a high school teacher, I think, but a biology high school teacher in America who just ate these things called Twinkies, which are just like little yum-yums. That's all he ate for, I think, a month or two to prove, and it's calorie controlled, to prove that he could lose body weight. Like, there's a guy called Fergus, right? He was from the 1970s or 80s. There's a case study of him. He didn't eat for over a year.
Wow.
He ate nothing. He just drank water. And he lost a lot of weight, Neil. He was a very fat man. He was a fish and chip shop son.
Yeah.
And he was very fat. And he's Scottish, actually. But he lost like a lot of weight. But the amount of fat that he had stored in him, he easily could have survived a year without eating.
Wow.
The problem he had wasn't gut microbia. It was the fact that vitamin C issues. That was some of the problems he had. That was it. So it wasn't gut microbia that was that was the problem.
There's a documentary on Netflix about a guy that just eats McDonald's or something, or a fast food thing.
Yeah, that's very dramatic, I think, to some extent. Like, I get it. If you ad lib, just consume lots of food. You know, you eat McDonald's, fast food. You're not calorie controlling. You're not flexibly eating. You're not eating vegetables. You're not exercising. You're not doing anything at all. Of course, you're going to get bad health outcomes.
Yeah.
Like, what in what world do we need to tell people that is the healthy thing to do? Is to just not consider what you're eating at all, not consider how much exercise you're doing at all. That is not. That's not. Like, well, we live in the UK. Like, does anyone think that eating McDonald's every single day, the large portions for every single meal, is a healthy way to live and not exercise? I'm sorry if like. No, there can't be a human being in this country that thinks that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, continue closing it off.
Oh, wait, sorry. Yes, that has been Random Dad Chat of episode number 56 of the Developing Dads podcast. Another nice fun one. I found out so many things about Neil that I didn't know about. One in which I'm definitely not joining him on a sea swim in Peterhead anytime soon. You can obviously find us on all different types of podcasting platforms. I mean, if you're listening to this, you've got one. It's probably Spotify, but if it's on Apple, great. You're one of those 25%. Everything else, I have no idea who the heck is listening outside of the two of those. If you do want to see our lovely faces and you want to listen to us or on YouTube, we do have a Developing Dads YouTube channel. You can watch this full episode of our shiny faces and my new blue background. Neil still hasn't posted on our Instagram page on Developing Dads. I imagine he is currently beavering away in the background trying to figure out how he's actually going to do it. But for now, you can check out some of the old posts that Neil might have done, or you can just join us there and hope for the best and see if one day Neil, maybe 2027, he will post something on Instagram. But yeah, either way, to the 2.5 listeners, maybe 3.5 listeners, we're in 2023. Hey, Neil. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I have very much indeed. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Be good first 2023 episode.
Cheers.